The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Screenplay by Markus and McFealy. External, London, night. A lamppost stands sentry over middle-class row houses. Suddenly, an ominous buzzing fills the air. After a moment, an air raid siren blares. The lamppost winks out. A squadron of German bombers slips through the clouds. Interior, Pevensie house, night. Edmund, 11, watches out of a window as the bombers fly overhead. Mrs. Pevensie and Peter, 15, hurry over to him.
Edmund, get away from there. What do you think you're doing? Peter!
Come on, to the shelter, now!
Susan, 13, grabs a torch and a book from beside her bed. She notices Lucy, 8, is still in bed.
Lucy! Come on, Lucy!
She plucks up Lucy and they rush frantically down the hall. Peter, 15, and Edmund, 11, scramble down the stairs, shoving each other as they go. Mrs. Pevensie waves them urgently out the back door. Mrs. Pevensie shepherds her children towards the shelter. Suddenly, Edmund skids to a halt.
Wait, Dad!
He breaks his mother's hold and races back into the house.
Edmund!
I'll get him.
Peter!
Edmund dashes into the sitting room and grabs a framed photo of a man in an RAF uniform. Anti-aircraft guns pound outside. Edmund looks out of the window. A Spitfire swoops in. Suddenly, flame shoots from one of the bombers. It wobbles in the air. Edmund stares in awe as the burning plane plunges out of the sky, directly at him. He stands, frozen. The plane smashes into the house across the street.
Edmund!
Peter yanks Edmund away. Their dad's picture flies from his hand. It smashes on the floor. Edmund looks angrily from the picture to Peter. He snatches it up as his brother runs him outside. Peter and Edmund race across the garden and into the shelter.
Come on, idiot.
Interior, air raid shelter, night. They tumble inside.
Why do you always have to be so selfish? You only think about yourself. You could have got us killed.
Stop it.
Why can't you ever do as you're told?
Edmund looks at the crumpled photograph. He glares at Peter, tears in his eyes. Mrs. Pevensie pulls Edmund to her. The girls look on, shattered. Peter slams the shelter door shut. Outside, London burns. Interior train station, day. Hundreds of children say goodbye to their families on the platform. Bags and prized belongings lie stacked all around. Lucy stares glumly at a poster that says, "Help the city children, housing evacuees is a national service." Her mother pins her name and destination to her coat.
You need to keep this on, darling, all right? You're warm enough? Good girl.
Dad were here, he wouldn't make us go.
If Dad were here, it would mean the war was over and we wouldn't have to go.
You will listen to your brother, won't you, Edmund?
She tries to hug Edmund, but he turns away. She sadly settles for kissing his cheek. She turns to Peter and hugs him.
Promise me you'll look after the others.
I will, Mum.
Good man.
She hugs Susan. Susan tries not to cry.
Susan, be a big girl.
She takes a long, sad look at her children before nodding bravely.
All right, off you go.
The children make their way through the crowded platform towards the train. Susan takes Lucy's hand and Peter tries to take Edmund, but he wriggles away.
Hey, get off me. I know how to get on a train by myself. Get off me.
On the other side of the platform, soldiers are getting ready to board another train. Peter catches a glimpse of his father and is momentarily distracted.
May I have your tickets, please? Tickets, please.
Peter!
Susan grabs the tickets out of Peter's hands and gives them to the lady, annoyed.
That's right, on you go.
Yes, thank you.
They are about to get onto the train when Lucy turns back to try and see their mother over the crowd of heads.
Come on, Lucy. We have to stick together now. Everything's going to be all right. It's going to be fine.
The children get onto the train. Mrs. Pevensie makes her way to the front of the crowd of waving parents. The children find a window and wave to their mother as the train pulls out of the station. Interior, train, day. Peter tries to help Edmund put his case into the rack, but Edmund refuses his help. Throughout the journey, they watch as various children get dropped off at various rural train stations. Edmund watches as 2 children are collected by sombre foster parents. He swallows, worried. Exterior, countryside, train station, day. The train pulls away, leaving the Pevensies on an empty platform. A sign on the ticket booth creaks in the wind.
The professor knew we were coming.
Perhaps we've been incorrectly labelled.
Maybe he's forgotten us.
I wish he had.
Suddenly, an ancient black buggy clatters up. A stern woman peers down from the seat, none too impressed.
Mrs. Macready?
I'm afraid so. Is that it then? Haven't you bought anything else?
No, ma'am. Just us.
Small favours.
Exterior, Professor's house, dusk. The Professor's house looms through the trees, 3 stories of stone and stained glass. The children stare up from the rattling buggy.
I hope you all appreciate that this house is of great historic value. People come from all over England to view it.
The buggy turns onto the tree-lined drive.
Really? Why?
It is in all the guidebooks.
Interior, Professor house, dusk. A gnarled claw digs its sharp talons into a wooden sphere. Lucy stares at the ball and claw legs of an oak table.
Professor Kirke is not accustomed to having children in his house, and as such, there are a few rules we need to follow. There will be no shouting or running, no improper use of the dumb waiter.
Susan reaches out to touch a statue. Mrs. Macready smacks her hand away.
No touching of the historical artefacts, and above all...
They stop by a closed door. Lights flicker behind it.
There will be no disturbing the professor.
Peter, Susan and Edmund follow Mrs. Macready down the hall. Lucy lingers behind. Suddenly, a shadow moves under the door. Lucy dashes away. Internal, Professor's house, girls' bedroom, night. Lucy lies under the covers, a tiny girl in a large bed.
This bed's too big.
You sure you haven't shrunk?
The professor's just not used to having children around.
I still miss Mum.
Well, if you're homesick, go stand outside the Macready's door. She snores like an air raid siren.
Lucy giggles as Edmund puts down a plate of biscuits.
That pantry's a gold mine.
Wasn't lost forever, Lucy. We'll be home soon.
If I'm still there.
Isn't it time you're in bed?
Yes, Mum.
Ed? You saw outside. This place is huge. We'll be able to do whatever we want. Tomorrow's going to be great. Really?
Internal, Professor's house, sitting room, day. Lucy stares sadly as rain pelts down on the leaded window. Susan stands at a table before a huge dictionary. Peter slumps in a chair, incredibly bored.
Gascular, Peter. Gastrovascular.
Is it Latin?
Yes.
Edmund's legs stick out from under a coffee table.
Is it Latin for worst game ever invented?
Susan shuts the dictionary with a loud thump. Lucy turns from the window.
We could play hide and seek.
But we're already having so much fun.
Come on, Peter, please. Pretty please.
1, 2, 3, 4,
What?
5, 6, 7, 8.
As Peter counts, Lucy runs off to hide. Susan and Edmund follow her reluctantly. Lucy, Susan and Edmund run around the house looking for hiding places. Susan finds an old chest and climbs inside.
16, 17, 18.
Lucy is about to hide behind some curtains, but Edmund pushes her aside.
I was here first.
Lucy runs into another corridor. She tries one door, but it's locked. She tries the next and goes inside.
30, 31, 32.
Interior, Professor's house, wardrobe room, day. Lucy shuts the door behind her, spins around and stops. The room stands empty and quiet, almost forgotten. She stares. Her wardrobe looms against the far wall. At the window, a fly buzzes loudly, then dies, leaving nothing but silence.
94.
Lucy dashes to the wardrobe. She reaches up for the knob. It sticks.
95.
Lucy pulls again and the door pops open. 2 mothballs roll out onto the floor. Inside, fur coats hang on a bar.
96.
Lucy takes a breath and dives inside the wardrobe, leaving the door just slightly open. Internal, wardrobe, day. A slither of light splits the darkness. Lucy peers through the crack into the room. She backs into the coats. Layers of fur surround her.
97.
She puts out her hand, feeling for the back of the wardrobe. She pushes in and her hand brushes against a snowy tree branch. She pulls back her hand, then reaches out again, confused. She takes another step and hears a crunch. She crunches forward. Her breath steams. Slowly, the darkness around her lifts. Lucy stops. She stares, amazed, at a pine cone hanging from a tree branch. Snow falls around her. External, Narnia, lantern waste, night. Lucy spins in a circle, palms held out to collect the falling snowflakes. She looks behind her. The light from the wardrobe room still shows through the crack in the door. Lucy peers into the forest. A light filters through the trees. She walks forward. The light gets brighter. She steps into a clearing and there stands a lamppost. Lucy stares up at the hissing flame. Suddenly, footsteps crunch in the snow behind her. She spins around and peers into the forest. Nothing. More footsteps. Lucy screams as she sees a fawn, a red scarf around his neck. He carries several parcels. Startled, he drops his parcels.
Oh!
Brilliant.
Lucy, love it. Lucy ducks behind the lamppost. The fawn ducks behind a tree. They stare at each other, equally afraid. Then Lucy looks down when a fallen package lies. She picks it up and offers it to him.
You dropped this.
The fawn cautiously takes it from her, amazed.
Were you hiding from me?
No, I didn't want to scare you.
If you don't mind me asking, what are you?
Why, I'm a fawn, and you must be some sort of beardless dwarf.
I'm not a dwarf. I'm a girl. And actually, I'm tallest in my class.
But you're saying you're a daughter of Eve?
Well, my mum's name is Helen.
Yes, but you are, in fact, human.
Of course.
What are you doing here?
Well, I came in through the wardrobe in the spare room and...
God,
Uh,
I can't
ooh.
see. Can't see
Narnia.
what's going on.
Narnia, what's that?
My dear girl, you are in it. Everything from the lamppost all the way to the castle Kirke on the eastern sea. Every stick, every stone, every icicle is Narnia.
This is an awfully big wardrobe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tumnus.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Tumnus. I'm Lucy Pevensie. Oh, you shake it.
Why?
I don't know. People do it when they meet each other.
Lucy Pevensie, from the shining city of Wardrobe, in the far land of Spare How would it be if you came and had tea with me?
Oh, well, thank you very much. But I probably should be getting back.
Oh, come on. It's not every day I get to meet a new friend. And there's a roaring fire and toast and cakes and maybe we'll even break into the sardines.
Well, maybe for a little while, if you have sardines.
Ah, by the bucket load. Come along.
External, Narnia, Tumnus house, night. A pair of footprints, fawn and human, wind through the woods, down a slope, across a plain to where Lucy and Tumnus make their way through a tall rock canyon. He holds an umbrella to ward off the snow. Tumnus leads Lucy to a large rock.
And here we are.
Lucy looks confused, then sees a door. She grins, charmed. Tumnus opens the door and graciously waves Lucy inside. She walks in. Tumnus follows, closing the door behind him. Internal, Mr. Tumnus' house, night. Tumnus's hand shakes as he takes the key from the lock. Lucy sees a painting of an older fawn on the dresser.
Oh, that is my father.
He has a nice face. You look a lot like him.
No, we are not alike at all, really.
My father is fighting in the war.
My father went away to war too, but that was a very long time ago, before this dreadful winter.
Winter isn't all bad. There's ice skating and snowball fights. Oh, and Christmas.
Oh, we haven't had Christmas in 100 years.
No presents for 100 years?
Lucy sits in a comfy chair, her feet dangling a few inches off the ground. Mr. Tumnus starts to make tea.
But, oh, you would have loved Narnia in the spring. The Dryads and the fawns would dance all night, which we never got tired. And oh, the music, such music. Would you like to hear some now?
Oh, yes, please.
Tumnus takes out a flute.
That's a prop I haven't got. Now,
Oh, you should have
are
had
you
mine from
familiar with any
JCS.
Narnian lullabies?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
Well, good, because this probably won't sound anything like one.
Tumnus plays a lilting melody. Lucy listens, staring into the fire, sipping her tea. She blinks, startled. In the flame, she sees a herd of galloping centaurs. She starts. Tumnus smiles reassuringly and goes on playing. Lucy peers back into the fire. Nymphs dance in a clearing. Dwarfs feast at a table. A flying horse takes to the air. Tumnus watches as Lucy sinks into her chair, her eyelids drooping. He plays on until she slumps, asleep. He stares at her innocent face. His eyes move slowly away down to the fire, and then in the flames, a massive lion roars. Tumnus jumps back, shocked. The fire goes out. Lucy's eyes flutter open. She yawns. She looks up at the window. It's dark outside.
Oh, I should go.
It's too late for that now.
Tumnus looks at her, trembling. He twists the flute in his hand, his knuckles white.
I'm such a bad fawn.
No, you're the nicest fawn I've ever met.
No, I'm afraid you've had a very poor sampling.
I'm sure you're very sorry and you'll never do it again.
It's not something I have done, Lucy Pevensie. It's something I'm doing.
What are you doing?
I'm kidnapping you.
Lucy backs away, bumping into the table. The saucers rattle.
The White Witch.
I don't understand.
It's the White Witch, the one that made it always winter and never Christmas. She told me that if I was ever to come across a son of Adam or a daughter of Eve, I am supposed to turn it over to her.
Tumnus's eyes well. Lucy hands him her handkerchief.
But Mr. Tumnus, you wouldn't.
Tumnus stares down at the delicate lace. He runs his thumb over the L embroidered in the corner.
I thought you were my friend.
Suddenly, determination fills his eyes. He jumps to his feet and grabs her by the hand.
We must hurry. Her secret police could be here at any moment.
External Narnia, forest, night. Tumnus and Lucy crash through the snow, destroying their old footprints as they race from his house.
Shh. The wood is full of her spies. Even some of the trees are on her side.
Lucy cranes her neck at a grove of ominous pines. At the lamppost, Tumnus looks into Lucy's eyes.
Can you find your way back from here?
I think so. Will you be all right?
Mr. Tumnus stifles another sob and dabs his eyes with the handkerchief.
I'm sorry. Here.
He places the handkerchief in Lucy's hand, but she pushes it back to him.
Keep it. You need it more than I do.
No matter what happens, Lucy Pevensie, I'm glad to have met you. You made me feel warmer than I felt in 100 years. No, not really. Now go! Go!
Lucy races away, waving one last time before plunging into the trees. Tumnus stares after her, worried. Internal, Professor's house, wardrobe room, day. Lucy tumbles out of the wardrobe. Light fills the warm room.
99, 100. Ready or not, here I come.
Internal, Professor's house, upper hall, day. Lucy throws open the wardrobe room door.
It's all right. I'm back.
Edmund pokes his head out from behind the curtain.
Do you shut up? He's coming.
Peter rounds the corner at the end of the hall.
You know, I'm not sure you two have quite gotten the idea of this game.
But weren't you wondering where I was?
That's the point. That's why he was seeking you.
Susan comes in.
Does this mean I win?
I don't think Lucy wants to play anymore.
But I've been gone for hours.
Internal, Professor's house, wardrobe room, day. Lucy drags the others to the wardrobe. Susan pulls the coats apart, revealing the back of the wardrobe. She gives it a rap with her knuckles.
Sorry, Lucy. The only wood in here is the back of the wardrobe.
One game at a time, Lou. We don't all have your imagination.
But I wasn't imagining.
That's enough, Lucy.
I wouldn't lie about this.
Oh, I believe you.
You do?
Yeah, didn't I ever tell you about the football field in the bathroom cupboard?
Why don't you just stop it? You always have to make everything worse, don't you?
Shut up. You think you're Dad, but you're not.
Edmund storms out.
Well, that was nicely handled.
Susan walks away too.
But it really was there.
Susan's right, Lucy. That's enough.
Peter leaves. Lucy shuts the wardrobe door sadly. Internal, Professor's house, girl's bedroom, night. A huge moon bathes the room. Lucy tosses and turns, staring at the ceiling. An ominous rumbling disturbs the silence. Lucy looks over to see Susan snoring. Lucy quietly slips out of bed. Internal, Professor's house, bedroom hall, night. Lucy eases out of her room wearing boots and her dressing gown, carrying a candle. She sneaks down the hall. After a moment, a toilet flushes from behind a door. Edmund steps out of the bathroom to see Lucy at the far end of the hall. He grins and creeps after her. Lucy opens the wardrobe room door. She creeps in, closing it behind her. Internal, wardrobe room, night. Lucy's hand hesitates on the wardrobe handle. She bites her lip and pulls the door open. A wind blows from the wardrobe, extinguishing the candle. Lucy smiles. Internal, bedroom hall, night. Edmund steps out of the shadows. He reaches up for the doorknob, throws open the door and jumps to find... Internal, wardrobe room, night. Nothing. The room lies bare and silent. Edmund smirks at the open wardrobe door. He pokes his head in. Nothing. He creeps into the wardrobe.
Lucy, I hope you're not afraid of the dark.
He shuts the door behind him. Darkness. Edmund clunks and struggles in the wardrobe.
Lucy?
He stumbles forward out of the darkness. External, Narnia, lantern waste, day. Snow swirls, then settles, revealing. Edmund stands stock still in the forest clearing.
Lucy?
Edmund sees the lamppost, stares wide-eyed at the woods around him. He walks on.
Lucy, I think I believe you now.
The wind blows through his thin pyjamas. He turns back to where the wardrobe should be. He finds nothing. Suddenly he stops and listens. Sleigh bells! He peers into the distance. Through the swirling snow, a flash of black-red appears. Edmund stares as it grows larger and larger, until finally his eyes widen at the sight of a sleigh pulled by hard, charging white reindeer. Snow plumes from the runners, steam jets from the reindeers' nostrils as the sleigh bells bear down. Edmund jumps back, falling into a snowbank. The sleigh hisses to a stop. A mean-eyed dwarf leaps down and tackles him. The dwarf presses a knife to Edmund's throat.
What is it now, Ginarrbrik?
I'm not sure, Your Majesty. If it's a dwarf, it's an ugly one.
Make him let me go. I didn't do anything wrong.
How dare you address the Queen of Narnia?
I didn't know.
You'll know better hereafter, Jim laddie.
Wait.
Ginarrbrik lets Edmund go. Edmund looks and sees an astonishingly beautiful woman standing before him. Her skin gleams whiter than the polar bear fur that surrounds it. Atop her head sits a many-pronged crown. Edmund stares, mesmerised.
What is your name, son of Adam?
Edmund?
Edmund gets to his feet.
And how, Edmund, did you come to enter my dominion?
I'm not sure. I was just following my sister.
Your sister? How many are you?
4. Lucy's the only one that's been here before. She said she met some faun named Tumnus. Peter and Susan don't believe her. I didn't either.
Edmund, you look so cold. Will you come and sit with me?
The witch sits Edmund beside her in the sleigh, cocooning him in her fur. Ginarrbrik scowls and sheathes his dagger.
Now, how about something hot to drink?
Yes, please, Your Majesty.
She takes out a small copper vial, pops the cork and lets a single drop fall to the snow. Edmund gapes as the snow melts upwards, forming a steaming jewelled cup. Ginarrbrik hands it to him.
Your drink, sire.
Edmund hesitates, then sips. His shivering stops and a smile spreads across his face.
How did you do that?
I can make anything you like.
Can you make me taller?
Anything you'd like to eat.
Turkish delight?
She tips the bottle once more, dropping a ruby-coloured pearl. A glittering box appears. Ginarrbrik hands it up to Edmund. He tears it open, gawking at rows of Turkish delight. He puts a piece in his mouth. His eyes glaze as he chews.
Edmund, I would very much like to meet the rest of your family.
Why? They're nothing special.
Oh, I'm sure they're not nearly as delightful as you are.
The witch plucks off Ginarbrik's hat and gently wipes the boy's sticky mouth. Ginarrbrik seethes. He snatches the hat back and wipes it on his trouser leg.
But you see, Edmund, I have no children of my own, and you're exactly the sort of boy who I could see one day becoming Prince of Narnia, maybe even king.
Really?
Of course, you'd have to bring your family.
Oh, do you mean Peter gets to be king too?
No. But a king needs servants.
I guess I could bring them.
The witch hands the Turkish delight box to Ginarrbrik, who eats some. She turns Edmund's head to face 2 dark hills on the horizon.
Beyond these woods, you see those 2 hills? My house is right between them. You'd love it there, Edmund. It has whole rooms simply stuffed with Turkish delight.
Could I have some more now?
No! Don't want to ruin your appetite. Besides, you and I are going to be seeing each other again very soon, aren't we?
Oh, I hope so, Your Majesty.
Edmund gets down from the sleigh.
Until then, dear one, I'm going to miss you.
Ginarrbrik cracks his whip and the reindeer spring to life. The witch waves to Edmund as the sleigh sweeps her way. The sleigh fades into the white, hazy distance. Edmund stands alone, dazed. After a moment, he hears footsteps on the snow behind him.
Edmund?
He whips around to see Lucy running to him. She hugs him excitedly.
Edmund, you got in too. Isn't it wonderful?
Where have you been?
Edmund wipes his mouth guiltily.
With Mr. Tumnus. He's fine. The White Witch hasn't found out anything about him meeting me.
White Witch?
She calls herself the Queen of Narnia, but she really isn't. Are you all right? You look awful.
Well, what did you expect? I mean, it's freezing. How do we get out of here?
Come on, this way.
Lucy takes his hand. He stumbles along with her, pale. Interior, Professor's house, boys' room, night. Lucy turns on the light and runs into the boys' room where Peter is sleeping. She jumps on him to wake him up.
Peter, wake up! It's there! It's really there!
Lucy, what are you talking about?
Narnia! It's all in the wardrobe, like I told you.
Susan comes in.
Oh, Lucy, you've been dreaming.
No, I wasn't. I saw Mr. Tumnus again. Oh, and this time, Edmund went too.
They all turn to Edmund as he enters the room.
You saw the fawn.
Well, he didn't actually go there with me. What were you doing, Edmund?
I was just playing along. I'm sorry, Peter. I shouldn't have encouraged her, but you know what little children are like these days. They just don't know when to stop pretending.
Lucy starts to cry and runs out of the room. Susan runs after her, and so does Peter, who shoves Edmund over on the way past.
Ow!
Lucy runs down the hall and smacks into Professor Kirke. She looks up, a little frightened, and then starts her crying all over again, hugging him. Mrs. Macready comes hurrying in, furious at the noise.
You children are one shenanigan shy of sleeping in a stable. Oh, Professor, I told them not to disturb you.
Oh, Mrs. Macready, I'm sure there's an explanation. But first of all, I think this one is in need of a little hot chocolate.
Come along, dear.
Mrs. Macready takes Lucy down the hall. Peter and Susan turn to go.
Ahem.
The two turn and follow him into his office. Interior, Professor's office, night. Peter and Susan step timidly inside. Shelves line the walls, crammed with ancient books and artifacts. A massive desk looms beneath a window, where Professor Kirke sits, taking out some tobacco and putting it into his pipe.
You seem to have upset the internal balance of my housekeeper.
We're very sorry, sir. It won't happen again.
Is our sister, Sir Lucy?
The weeping girl.
Yes, sir, she's upset.
Hence the weeping.
Nothing. We can handle it.
Oh, I can see that.
I think she's found a magical land in the upstairs wardrobe.
What did you say?
The wardrobe upstairs. Lucy thinks she's found a forest inside.
The Professor ushers Peter and Susan onto a sofa and he sits across from them.
You won't stop going on about it.
What was it like?
Like talking to a lunatic.
No, not her. The forest.
You're not saying you believe her.
Well, don't you?
Well, of course not. I mean, logically it's impossible.
What do they teach in schools these days?
Edmund said they were only pretending.
And he's usually the more truthful one.
No, this would be the first time.
Well, if she's not mad and she's not lying, then logically we must assume she is telling the truth.
You're saying that we should just believe her?
She's your sister, isn't she? You're a family. You might just try acting like one.
External, Professor's house, day. Peter, Susan and Edmund play cricket on the lawn. Lucy sits nearby under a tree, reading. Edmund is batting. Peter runs up to bowl.
Peter winds up, poised to take it. Another wicket.
Peter throws and the ball hits Edmund's leg.
Ow!
Whoops! Wake up, Dolly Daydream.
Susan throws the ball back to Peter.
Why can't we play hide and seek again?
I thought you said it was a kid's game.
Besides, we could all use fresh air.
Not like there isn't air inside.
Are you ready?
Are you?
Peter bowls again. This time, Edmund whacks it good and it smashes through an upstairs window and crashes into a suit of armour. Internal Professor's house, day. The children are looking at the broken window and the suit of armour on the floor.
Well done, Ed.
You bowled it.
What on earth is going on up there?
The Macready!
Come on.
The children run up the stairs. Footsteps clatter behind them. They run down a hall. Footsteps come in front of them. They race along a maze of passages. They run around a corner and skid to a halt in front of the wardrobe room. The footsteps thunder. They run in and shut the door behind them. Internal wardrobe room, day. Edmund runs right for the wardrobe and opens it.
Come on.
You've got to be joking.
The footsteps are very close now. Peter, Susan and Lucy follow Edmund into the wardrobe. Peter makes sure to leave the door ajar. Peter puts his eye to the crack. Outside, the doorknob starts to turn.
Get back!
All 4 children scrunch further into the wardrobe. They scramble around, tripping over each other in the dark.
My toe!
I'm not on your toe. Move back.
Will you stop shoving?
Peter and Susan fall backwards into the snow. They look around. Exterior, Narnia, lantern waste, day. The Pevensies step out of the wardrobe and into Narnia. Peter and Susan gape in amazement. They crane their heads to look up at the treetops.
Impossible.
Lucy casually steps up next to them.
Don't worry, I'm sure it's just your imagination.
I don't suppose saying we're sorry would quite cut it.
No, it wouldn't. But this might.
Lucy hits Peter in the face with a snowball. He throws one back at her and a snowball fight begins. Edmund just stares through the trees at 2 dark hills in the distance. Susan hits Edmund in the arm with the snowball.
Oh, stop it.
The fight stops. They all stare at Edmund.
You little liar.
Didn't believe her either.
Apologise for Lucy.
It was just a joke.
Say you're sorry.
All right. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Some little children just don't know when to stop pretending.
Oh, very funny.
Maybe we should go back.
Shouldn't we at least take a look around?
I think Lucy should decide.
I'd like you all to meet Mr. Tumnus.
Well then, Mr. Tumnus it is.
We can't go hiking in the snow dressed like this.
Peter reaches into the wardrobe and gathers 4 fur coats. He hands them out.
No, but I'm sure the professor wouldn't mind us using these. Anyway, if you think about it logically, we're not even taking them out of the wardrobe.
Oh, sorry. Peter hands Edmund a very fluffy coat. It wasn't highlighted, sorry.
But that's a girl's coat.
I know.
Peter shoves it at him. Edmund grabs it, sullen. External Narnia, day. The 4 of them walk through the white world. They gape at the lamppost. Peter dumps snow on Lucy's head. Susan walks stiffly, her hands in her pockets. She slips down a slope, ending up on her back. Staring up at the snow-filled sky, Susan finally smiles. She opens her arms and makes a snow angel. The Pevensies wind their way through the towering rocks toward Tumnus's house. Lucy leads them down a narrow crevasse, around a corner, and Lucy sees the door has been broken in and runs inside.
Lucy!
The others run inside after Lucy. Interior, Tumnus's house, day. Lucy stands in the doorway, her mouth open. The others come in behind her. Susan gasps. The little home lies ravaged. Smoke blackens the wall. Crockery and furniture clutter the floor, smashed to pieces.
Who would do something like this?
Edmund stares down at the shredded portrait of Tumnus's father. He looks away. Peter plucks at a piece of parchment nailed to the wall.
The fawn Tumnus is hereby charged with high treason against her Imperial Majesty, Jadis, Queen of Narnia, for comforting her enemies and fraternising with humans. Signed, Maugrim, Captain of the Secret Police. Long live the Queen.
All right, now we should really head back.
But what about Mr. Tumnus?
If he was arrested just for being with a human, I don't think we can do.
You don't understand, do you? I'm the human. She must have found out he helped me.
Maybe we could call the police.
These are the police.
Don't worry, Lou. We'll think of something.
Why? I mean, he's a criminal.
Do that. The children look out the open door and see a robin hopping from one branch to the next.
Did that bird just psst to us?
External, Narnia, forest, day. The children step outside.
Psst.
They go to follow the robin, but it flies away. Suddenly, a rustle in the trees startles them. They hear rustling all around them. Peter, Susan and Lucy huddle together, afraid, when suddenly Mr. Beaver appears from between the rocks.
It's a beaver.
Hey, boy. Hey, boy.
Peter clicks his tongue and extends his hand as if approaching a dog.
I ain't going to smell it if that's what you want.
The children gasp, Lucy giggles.
Oh, sorry.
Lucy Pevensie.
Yes?
Lucy steps forward cautiously. Mr. Beaver holds out a handkerchief. Lucy takes it and looks at it.
Hey, that's the hanky I gave to Mr.
Tumnus. He got it to me just before they took him.
Is he all right?
Further in.
Mr. Beaver scurries off. Peter and Lucy go to follow, but Susan pulls Peter back.
What are you doing?
She's right. How do we know we can trust him?
He says he knows the fawn.
He's a beaver. He shouldn't be saying anything.
Everything all right?
Yes, we were just talking.
That's better left for safe quarters.
He means the trees.
Susan and Peter look around the forest suspicious. Peter sighs and leads Lucy away after Mr. Beaver. Susan and Edmund follow reluctantly.
Come on, we don't want to be caught out here after nightfall.
Exterior, Beaver's Dam, day. Mr. Beaver leads the Pevensies through the forest between two cliffs and under a bridge. A frozen river lies in front of them. Susan steps to the edge. A fish hangs frozen in the ice. Bubbles trickle from its open mouth. Mr. Beaver leads the children towards an impressive dam. A wisp of smoke floats from a large mound atop it.
Oh, blimey! Looks like the old girl's got the kettle on. Nice cup of Rosie Lee.
It's lovely.
It's merely a trifle. Still plenty to do. Ain't quite finished it yet. It'll look the business when it is, though.
Mrs. Beaver comes out of the dam.
Beaver, is that you? I've been worried sick. If only I'd you been out with Badger again. Oh well, these aren't badgers. Oh, I never thought I'd live to see this day. Look at my fur. You couldn't give me 10 minutes warning.
I'd have given a week if I thought it would have helped.
Oh, come inside. We'll see if we can't get you some food and some civilised company.
Mrs. Beaver leads the children inside.
Now, careful. Watch your step.
Excuse me, miss. Can't get Mr. Beaver to get out of his chair.
Edmund lags behind, looking past the mound, through the smoke, at the pair of dark hills beyond.
Enjoying the scenery, are we?
Interior, Beaver's Dam, day. The Pevensies and the Beavers sit at a table full of fish dishes. Edmund sits away from the others by the window.
Isn't there anything we can do to help Tumnus?
They'll have taken him to the witch's house. You know what they say. There's few that go through them gates and come out again.
Fish and chips.
Mrs. Beaver sets the dish down in the middle of the table.
But there is hope, dear. Lots of hope.
Oh, yeah, there's a right bit more than hope. Aslan is on the move.
Who's Aslan?
Who's Aslan, you cheeky little blighter?
Mrs. Beaver hits Mr. Beaver's arm.
What? You don't know, do you?
We haven't exactly been here very long.
Well, he's only the king of the whole wood. The top geezer, the real king of Narnia.
He's been away for a long time.
But he's just got back, and he's waiting for you near the stone table.
He's waiting for us.
You're blooming joking. They don't even know about the prophecy.
Well then.
Look, Aslan's return, Tumnus arrest, the secret police. It's happening because of you.
You're blaming us?
No, not blaming, thanking.
There's a prophecy. When Adam's flesh and Adam's bone sits at Cair Paravel enthroned, the evil time will be over and done.
You know, that doesn't really rhyme.
Yeah, I know it don't. You're kind of missing the point.
Long been foretold that 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve will defeat the White Witch and restore peace to Narnia.
And you think we're the ones?
You'd better be, because Aslan's already fitted out your army.
Our army?
Mum sent us away so we wouldn't get caught up in a war.
I think you've made a mistake. We're not heroes.
We're from Finchley. Thank you for your hospitality. We really have to go.
No, you can't just leave.
He's right. We have to help Mr. Tumnus.
It's out of our hands. I'm sorry, but it's time for the 4 of us. We're getting him. We're getting him home. We're getting home. Yeah. Ed?
Peter searches the room, landing on Edmund's empty chair.
I'm going to kill him.
You may not have to. Has Edmund ever been to Narnia before?
External, Narnia, rocky area, night. The spires of the witch's castle twist between the 2 hills. Edmund stares hungrily as he stumbles through knee-high snow, shivering without his coat. External, Narnia, forest, night. Peter and Mr. Beaver lead the others as they run out of the dam and up a hill.
Hurry!
They see Edmund down below, walking up the gates of the castle.
Edmund!
Shh, they're here.
Peter starts to run after Edmund, but Mr. Beaver grabs him by his coat.
No.
Get off me.
You're playing into her hands.
We can't just let him go.
He's our brother.
He's the bait. The witch wants all 4 of you.
Why?
To stop the prophecy from coming true. To kill you.
They watch as Edmund goes through the castle gates, the doors shut behind him.
This is all your fault.
My fault?
None of this would have happened if you had just listened to me in the first place.
Oh, so you knew this would happen?
I didn't know what would happen, which is why we should have left while we still could.
Stop it. This isn't going to help Edmund.
She's right. Only Aslan can help your brother now.
Then take us to him.
External, witch's castle, courtyard, night. Gnawed, charred bones lie in ashes. Edmund steps over the remains of a watchfire into the courtyard. A dark shape appears, then vanishes into the swirling snow. Suddenly, the flurries fade. There stands a huge grey tiger. Edmund freezes. The tiger stares. Then slowly, snow builds on the animal's snout. Edmund reaches out and touches the tiger. Nothing. Stone.
Huh.
Edmund plucks up a piece of burnt wood from the dead fire and draws on the tiger. Glasses and a moustache. He laughs nervously. Edmund walks further inside. Statues surround him. Across the courtyard, stone creatures stand like chess pieces, their faces frozen in fear. Atop a flight of stairs, Edmund finds a huge grey wolf. He raises his leg to step over the statue. The wolf snarls to life with one massive paw. It pins Edmund to the ground.
Be still, stranger. I'll never move again. Who are you?
Yay, fabulous.
Love it. I'm Edmund. I met the Queen in the woods. She told me to come back here. I'm a son of Adam.
My apologies. Fortunate favourite of the Queen, or else not so fortunate. Do follow me.
Interior, Witch's Castle, Great Hall, night. Maugrim leads Edmund into a vast arching hall built entirely of glittering ice.
Wait here.
Maugrim leaves. At the end of the hall sits an empty, frozen throne. Edmund approaches it, hesitant. He sits on the throne and smiles, looking around the grand room.
Like it?
Edmund jumps to his feet as the witch comes in with Ginarrbrik.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I thought you might. Tell me, Edmund, are your sisters deaf?
No.
And your brother, is he unintelligent?
Well, yes, I think so, but Mum says...
Then how dare you come alone?
I tried.
Edmund, I asked so little of you.
They just don't listen to me.
You couldn't even do that.
I did bring them halfway. They're at a little house in the dam with the beavers.
Well, I suppose you're not a total loss then, are you?
I was wondering, could I maybe have some more Turkish delight now?
Our guest is hungry.
This way for your num-nums.
Ginarrbrik smiles evilly as he leads Edmund away at knife point.
Ha ha ha.
Maugrim, you know what to do.
Maugrim lets out a howl. Edmund realises the horrible truth as wolves surround the castle before bounding out into the forest. A vicious pack, snarling and howling.
Ow!
Internal, Beaver's Dam, night. Peter, Susan, Lucy and Mr. Beaver burst into the dam.
Hurry, Mother, they're after us.
Oh, right then.
Mrs. Beaver starts hurrying around the kitchen, packing food into a bag.
What's she doing?
Oh, you'll be thanking me later. It's a long journey and Beaver gets pretty cranky when he's hungry.
I'm cranky now.
The wolves rage towards the river and eye the Beaver's dam.
Take them!
Susan helps Mrs. Beaver with the packing.
Do you think we'll need jam?
Only if the witch serves toast.
The wolves leap onto the frozen river surrounding the dam. The pack savagely tears at the mound.
Hurry!
Splinters fly as the wolves burst through the door. They ransack the now empty room, shredding everything. Finally, Maugrim stops. He sniffs. His head swivels to a rough-hewn wardrobe. The wolf eases open the door, revealing a tunnel. Maugrim's yellow eyes narrow.
Smell them out.
Mr. Beaver hurries the group through a dark tunnel.
Badger and me dug this. Come out right near his place.
You told me it led to your mum's.
Lucy's long coat catches on a root. She falls to the ground. Susan reaches to help, but...
Lucy!
Everyone freezes.
They're in the tunnel.
Quick, this way.
Hurry!
Run!
Quick, quick, quick!
The group barrels around a corner and hits a dead end.
Beaver, you should have brought a map.
There wasn't room next to the jam. Peter, kneel down.
Mr. Beaver leaps onto Peter's back, reaching for the ceiling. Exterior, Allies, Enclave, night. A rock rolls away, revealing Mr. Beaver. The others climb out. A tiny village sits in the pale moonlight. A mother otter draws water from the well. Squirrel children play nearby. Mr. Beaver leads the others in a run for the village. Lucy peers at the squirrels standing still under a tree. Mrs. Beaver follows her gaze.
Something's wrong.
The village stands disconcertingly silent. Everyone gapes, horrified as they realise the entire village has turned to stone. A badger stands frozen, baring his fierce claws. Mr. Beaver lays a hand on his old friend, tears welling.
I'm so sorry, dear.
He was my best mate.
What's happened here? This is what becomes of those who cross the witch.
They whip around to see a fox standing atop a rock.
You take one more step, traitor, and I'll chew you to splinters.
Relax, I am one of the good guys.
Yeah, well, you look an awful lot like one of the bad ones.
An unfortunate family resemblance. We can argue breeding later. Right now, we've got to move.
The wolves howling gets closer.
What did you have in mind? Now there's a man of discernment.
Another howl rips the night very close.
I realise we've only just met, but you might want to follow me.
Is that what you told him?
Fox nods at the dirt flying from the hole they just came through.
I'd hurry. They get rather unpleasant when they're hungry.
The first paw scratches at the lip of the hole.
Follow him.
But
Go!
Fox whirls and darts into the trees. Mr. Beaver sets his feet and faces the hole.
I'll take my chances, thanks.
You'll do no such thing.
Mrs. Beaver tugs her husband away. The Pevensies and the Beavers scramble after Fox. Suddenly, Fox stops. He sniffs the air. Wolves tear through the village, knocking over the stone badger. They burst into the forest, only to find Fox casually sweeping the snow with his tail, alone in a clearing. The wolves skid to a stop. Fox smiles innocently.
Greetings, gents. Lost something, have we?
Don't patronise me. I know where your allegiances lie. We're looking for some humans.
Humans? Here in Narnia? Now that's a valuable piece of information, don't you think? I imagine there'd be at least a nominal reward for something like that.
He leans against a tree. Hidden up in its branches are Peter, Susan, Lucy, and the Beavers. Maugrim's Lieutenant Vardan clamps down on Fox's neck. Lucy gasps. Susan clasps her hand over her sister's mouth.
Your reward is your life, but still, where are the fugitives?
Vardan tightens his jaw. Fox yelps.
North.
that was
North.
good.
They ran north.
Smell them out.
They cast aside the fox and run off into the woods. Fox lays whimpering on the ground. External, Narnia, forest, night. The Pevensies sit with the beavers and the fox around a fire they have built. Mrs. Beaver is patching up the fox's wounds.
They were helping Tumnus. The witch got here before I did. Ow! Ow!
Are you all right?
Well, I wish I could say their bark was worse than their bite. Ow!
Stop squirming. You're worse than Beaver on Bath Day.
Worst day of the year.
Thank you for your kindness, but I'm afraid that's all the cure I have time for.
You're leaving?
It has been a pleasure, my queen. An honour. But time is short, and Aslan himself has asked me to gather more troops.
You've seen Aslan?
What's he like?
Like everything we've ever heard. You'll be glad to have him by your side in the battle against the witch. Oh, my God.
But we're not planning to fight any witch.
But surely, Peter, the prophecy.
We can't go to war without you.
We just want our brother back.
Interior, Witch's Castle, dungeon, night. Edmund sits alone in a cell in chains. He attempts to eat the bread he is given, but spits it out. It is frozen. A voice suddenly comes from the next cell.
We're not going to eat that.
Edmund approaches warily with the bread. There on the floor in the next cell lies Mr. Tumnus, gaunt, beaten, his hooves shackled to the floor.
I'd get up, but my legs.
Edmund hands him the bread and Mr. Tumnus starts to eat.
Mr. Tumnus?
What's left of him? You're Lucy Pevensy's brother.
I'm Edmund.
Yes, you have the same nose.
Edmund rubs his nose.
Is your sister all right? Is she safe?
Don't know.
Edmund and Tumnus look up as the
She's
lock
safe.
clangs. They shuffle away from each other as the witch enters with Ginarrbrik.
My police tore that dam apart. Your little family are nowhere to be found. Where did they go?
The witch picks Edmund up off the ground by the scruff of his neck.
I don't know.
Then you're of no further use to me.
She throws him back down and draws her wand. She is about to strike when...
Wait, the beaver said something about Aslan?
Mr. Tumnus looks up at this. The witch lowers her wand.
Aslan? Where?
He's a stranger here, Your Majesty. He can't be expected to know anything.
Ginarrbrik knocks the Tumnus back with his staff.
I said, where is Aslan?
Tumnus shoots Tumnus shoots Edmund a desperate look. Edmund stares at him for a long moment, then...
I don't know. I left before they said anything. I wanted to see you.
Ginarrbrik, release the fawn.
What, Your Majesty?
Do it.
Ginarrbrik drags Tumnus out and releases his legs from their shackles.
Do you know why you're here, fawn?
Because I believe in a free Narnia.
You're here because he turned you in. For sweeties.
Tumnus looks at Edmund, confused.
Take him upstairs and ready my sleigh. Edmund misses his family.
Ginarrbrik drags Tumnus away. The witch follows. The door slams shut behind them and Edmund is left alone in the cell, crying. Excuse me. External, Rockbridge, dawn. The Pevensies and Beavers stare out in awe. Before them spreads Narnia, vast, open and white.
I told you it wasn't all trees.
One stone table.
You see that frozen lake? Beyond that is shuddering wood, and then some foothills. You see the largest of them, far off, there?
Barely.
Well, that little grey bit on top of that, that's the stone tablet.
We'll save 2 days if we cross the frozen river.
Frozen River, is it safe?
It's been frozen solid for 100 years.
It's so far.
It's the world, dear. Did you expect it to be small?
Smaller.
Interior, Witch's Castle courtyard, dawn. Ginarrbrik drags Edmund past dozens of the witches' statues. Suddenly, his face goes cold. There, trapped in an alcove, illuminated by flickering torchlight, stands Mr. Tumnus, frozen in pain. The witch stands aboard her sleigh.
When you're ready, son of Adam.
The witch's sleigh rockets out of the gates, followed by the howling wolf pack. Ginarrbrik cracks his whip wildly. The witch sits tall in the rear. At her feet, Edmund cowers. Exterior, frozen lake, day. 5 tiny figures make their way over a landscape of white. The beavers gallop easily over the snowy plain. The Pevensies lag behind, their legs bogging down in the snow.
Come on, humans, while we're still young.
If he tells us to hurry up one more time, I'm going to turn him into a big fluffy hat.
Hurry up, come on.
He is getting a little bossy.
Behind you! It's her!
Run!
Run!
The children turn. A speeding sleigh bears down on them. Peter grabs Lucy and runs for shore. The air shakes with the sound of sleigh bells. Susan slips on the ice, scrambling. Atop the sleigh, a tall figure stands at the reins. Beaver points to a small hole between 2 icy slabs.
Quick, down here.
Interior, shuddering wood, day. The beavers and humans lie crammed in a tiny hole, trembling as the sleigh bells grow louder. Finally, with a hiss of runners, the sleigh stops right outside. A shadow passes over the mouth of the hole. Lucy swallows. They wait. Finally.
Maybe she's gone.
I suppose I'll go look.
No! You're worth nothing to Narnia dead.
Well, neither of you, Beaver.
Thanks, sweetheart.
He squeezes her paw, then slips into the light. Everyone waits. And then comes the sound of footsteps. They all jump.
Come out, come out. I hope you've all been good, because there's someone here to see you.
External, shuddering wood, day. The Pevensies and Mrs. Beaver slowly climb out of the hole. 2 huge reindeer rest in front of an ancient sleigh, and there, next to Beaver, stands a tall man in a bright red robe and a great white beard, a broad sword on his hip. He could be an ancient warrior or...
Merry Christmas, sir.
It certainly is. Lucy, since you arrived.
Look, I put up with a lot since I got here, but this?
We thought you were the witch.
Yes. I about that. But in my defence, I've been driving one of these longer than the witch.
I thought there was no Christmas in Narnia.
Oh, for a long time. But with hope that you brought, Your Majesties, it is finally starting to weaken the witch's power. Still, say you could do with these.
He reaches into his sleigh and pulls out a huge sack.
Presents!
Lucy, Eve's daughter, these are for you. The juice of the fire flower, 1 drop will cure any injury. And this, I hope you never have to use it.
He hands Lucy a small dagger and a small jewelled vial.
Thank you, sir. I think I could be brave enough.
He takes out a bow and quiver of arrows and holds them out for Susan to take.
Susan, trust in your bow. Where are we? And it will not surely miss.
What happened to battles are ugly affairs?
You don't seem to have a problem with making yourself heard. Blow on this, and help will come.
He hands Susan an ivory horn.
Thanks.
Father Christmas hands Peter a sword and a shield. Peter draws the sword from its sheath and admires the tiny blade.
Thank you, sir.
These are tools, not toys. Bear them well and wisely. Now, I must be off. Winter is almost over, and things do pile up when you've been gone 100 years. Hence is why I'm so bad at my job.
He heaves the sack back onto the sleigh and climbs aboard.
Long live Aslan, and Merry Christmas!
He cracks the reins. The sleigh shoots off across the ice. Everyone watches him go, waving.
I told you he was real.
He said winter was almost over. You know what that means? No more ice.
External, Great River, cliff, day. The group stands on a precipice, staring down at the Great River. Cracks run along its frozen surface. Dark green water shoots underneath. To their left, a massive frozen waterfall looms, huge chunks of ice cracking off. To their right, the river flows. Plates of ice break away, shooting downstream.
Our shortcut is melting.
What do we do?
We need to cross. Now.
Don't beavers make dams?
I'm not that fast, dear.
Come on!
Wait, will you just think about this for a minute?
We don't have a minute.
I'm just trying to be realistic.
No, you're trying to be smart, as usual.
Peter and Lucy hurry after the beavers. Susan hesitates, but wolves howl in the distance and Susan follows after them. A sudden growl cuts the air. Maugrim steps out of the shadows, sniffing Susan's footprint. More wolves prowl out behind them. External, Great River, day. The group scrambles down the hill. Peter steps onto the ice. It crackles and he jumps back.
Wait, maybe I should go first.
Maybe you should.
Tentatively, Mr. Beaver leads them onto the surface of the river. The ice groans ominously.
You've been sneaking around second helpings, haven't you, Beaver?
Well, you never know which meal's going to be your last, especially with your cooking.
Ooh!
Ouch! Mrs. Beaver and the humans slowly follow Mr. Beaver across the crackling ice.
If Mum knew what we were doing.
Mum's not here.
Oh no!
Far above, a pair of wolves are picking their way across the waterfall.
Run!
Hurry!
They almost make it to the opposite shore when the wolves land directly in front of them. They back away, but wolves are circled behind them too. Mr. Beaver extends his claws to strike, but Vardan pins into the ice, his teeth at his neck.
No!
Peter draws his sword as Maugrim corners the others.
Put that down, Bot. Someone could get hurt.
Don't worry about me. Running through.
Leave now while you can, and your brother leaves with you.
Stop! Peter, maybe we should listen to him.
Smart girl.
Don't listen to him. Kill him. Kill him now.
Oh, come on. This isn't your war. All my queen wants is for you to take your family and go.
Look, just because some man in a red coat and hands you a sword, it doesn't make you a hero. Just drop it.
No, Peter. Narnia needs you. Got him while you still have a chance.
What's it gonna be, son of Adam? I won't wait forever, and neither will the river.
Just then, another huge chunk tumbles from the waterfall. Lucy looks up. Her eyes go wide.
Peter!
Peter turns to see fissures splitting across the waterfall's frozen surface. He looks from the waterfall to the wolf. Resigned, he starts to lay down his sword. Maugrim grins.
You're an even bigger coward than your brother.
Peter freezes. He stares straight into Maugrim's yellow eyes and raises his sword.
Hold on to me!
Susan and Lucy grab onto Peter's coat. Peter brings his sword down, driving it into the ice. Maugrim's yellow eyes go wide. Just then, the frozen waterfall bursts. Ice and water surge down the river. Peter holds tight to the sword as the water hits them. Children, beavers, wolves, all wash away in a torrent. External, Great River, downstream, day. An ice chunk bobs in the water, then turns over, revealing Peter still holding onto the sword. Susan and Lucy sputter beside him, desperately hanging on. Further down, Maugrim and Vardan paddle vainly, but the current washes them downstream. The beavers swim through the water to the floating berg. They dig their claws into the ice, pushing toward the shore. The beavers, Susan and Peter, make it onto the shore. Peter has Lucy's coat in his hand, but no Lucy.
What have you done? Lucy? Lucy!
They look out at the rapid current of the river, terrified.
Has anyone seen my coat?
Don't you worry, dear. Your brother's got you well looked after.
And I don't think you'll be needing those coats anymore.
All around them, Narnia erupts in life and colour. Yellow tulips burst from the earth. Exterior, Great River, cliff, day. Ginarrbrik, the witch, and Edmund stand watching as the river flows clear, not a trace of ice.
Ah, it's so warm out.
He starts to remove his coat. The witch shoots him a look. He puts his coat back on.
I'll go check the sleigh.
The wolves arrive from behind the trees. Vardan carries a limp fox in his mouth.
Your Majesty, we found the traitor. He was rallying your enemies near the Shuddering Woods.
Vardan throws the fox down at the witch's feet.
Ah, nice of you to drop in. You were so helpful to my wolves last night. Perhaps you can help me now.
Give me, Your Majesty.
Oh, don't waste my time with flattery.
Not to seem rude, but I wasn't actually talking to you.
The fox looks at Edmund. The witch points her wand at the fox.
Where are the humans headed?
No answer. The witch draws back her wand, ready to strike, but Edmund steps between her and the fox.
Wait, no, don't. The beaver said something about a stone table and that Aslan had an army there.
An army?
The fox sighs in disappointment.
Thank you, Edmund. I'm glad this creature got to see some honesty before he dies.
The witch touches the fox with the end of her wand and he is instantly turned to stone.
No!
The witch smacks Edmund across the face.
Think about whose side you're on, Edmund. Mine or theirs?
She forces Edmund to look at the stone fox. She turns to the wolves.
Go on ahead, gather the faithful. If it's a war Aslan wants.
She zaps a passing butterfly with her wand and it falls to the ground as stone.
It's a war he shall get.
Exterior, Aslan's camp, day. A bustling encampment at the foot of a hill, flags flap in the breeze. Hundreds of creatures gather around a pavilion. A centaur blows a horn as Peter, Susan, Lucy and the beavers approach. As they enter the camp, musicians stop playing. A hush settles and then a flurry of whispers. The crowd parts before the Pevensies, then gathers behind, following them.
Why are they all staring at us?
Maybe they think you look funny.
Mrs. Beaver is fussing over the state of her fur.
Oi, stop your fussing. You look lovely.
They move towards a regal tent. The flap hangs closed. All the creatures go silent. Peter draws his sword and holds it aloft.
We have come to see Aslan.
The crowd mutters to themselves. Everyone watches the tent flap in anticipation. As one, the creatures bend their knees and bow before a fierce and beautiful golden lion. He gazes at them. His mane shimmers. The children stare for a moment, then kneel. The beavers drop to all floors, bowing their heads.
Welcome, Peter, son of Adam. Welcome, Susan and Lucy, daughters of Eve. And welcome to you, beavers. You have my thanks. But where is the fourth?
The children get to their feet.
That's why we're here, sir. We need your help.
We had a little trouble along the way.
Our brother's been captured by the White Witch.
Captured? How could this happen?
He betrayed them, Your Majesty.
A noble centaur, Oreius, head of Aslan's guard, steps forward.
Then he betrayed us all.
Peace, Oreius. I'm sure there's an explanation.
It's my fault, really. I was too hard on him.
We all were.
Sir, he's our brother.
I know, dear one, but that only makes the betrayal all the worse. This may be harder than you think.
Exterior, Aslan's camp, hill, day. Aslan joins Peter on a hill, looking over the camp. In the distance sits a beautiful grand castle on a bay by the ocean.
This is Cair Paravel, the castle of the four thrones, in one of which you will sit, Peter, as High King. You doubt the prophecy?
But no, that's just it, Aslan. I'm not what you all think I am.
Peter Pevensie, formerly of Finchley. We were also meant to be planned on turning him into a hat. Peter, there is deep magic, more powerful than any of us, that rules over Narnia. It's defines right and wrong and governs all our destinies, yours and mine.
But I couldn't even protect my own family.
You brought them safely this far.
Not all of them.
Peter, I will do what I can to help your brother, but I need you to consider what I ask of you. I too want my family safe.
External, Aslan's camp, riverside, day. Susan and Lucy try on new Narnian dresses and look at their reflections in the river. Ouch.
You look like Mum.
Mum hasn't had a dress like this since before the war.
We should bring her one back. A whole trunk full.
If we ever get back. Look, I'm sorry I'm like that. We used to have fun together, didn't we?
Yes. Before you got boring.
Oh, really?
Susan splashes Lucy with water from the river. Lucy splashes her back. They shriek and laugh, soaking each other. Susan reaches for a sheet that is hanging on a tree branch. She rips it down to reveal Maugrim and Vardan. Maugrim growls. The girls scream.
Please don't try and run. We're tired and we prefer to kill you quickly.
Susan looks across to the tent to her old clothes and the horn. She throws the sheet at the wolf and runs. Exterior, Aslan's camp, hill, day. Peter and Aslan walk down the hill toward the camp. Suddenly, a horn blast shakes the air.
It's your sister's horn.
Susan!
Peter sets off down the hill at a run. Exterior, Aslan's camp, riverside, day. Lucy clings to the trunk of a tree, reaching down for Susan, who hangs from a lower branch. Maugrim and Vardan snap at her feet. Peter rushes in, sword drawn. Maugrim spins. Seeing Peter, he snarls in delight.
Ha!
Get back!
Come on! We've already been through this before.
We all know you haven't got it in you.
Peter, watch out!
The wolves circle Peter, snarling and growling. Aslan, Oreius and his men arrive. Vardan backs away as Aslan roars. Oreius pulls his weapon.
No! Stay your weapons. This is Peter's battle.
You may think you're king, but you're going to die like a dog.
Look out!
Maugrim leaps, all teeth. Peter braces, gripping his blade. The wolf falls upon the boy.
Peter!
Peter!
The girls jump down from the tree and rush over to their brother. They push the wolf's limp body off and Peter sits up, shaken and stunned. The girls hug their brother. Vardan flees into the forest.
After him, he'll lead you to Edmund.
Oreius gallops off, followed by a squad of centaurs.
Peter, clean your sword.
Peter pulls out his bloody sword and quickly wipes it on the grass.
Kneel.
The girls step back as Peter goes down on one knee, confused. Aslan rests his paw on the boy's head.
Rise, Sir Peter Wolfsbane, Knight of Narnia.
Peter rises slowly. He looks at his sisters, serious. He sheathes his sword. Exterior, White Witch's camp, night. At small fires, shadowy minions conspire, sharpening their weapons. The White Witch looks over battle plans with General Otmin.
The Minotaurs will take the left flank.
Yay!
Hey!
We'll keep the giants in reserve and send the dwarves in first.
Fabulous. Edmund is tied to a tree. He wriggles against his bonds as Ginarrbrik taunts him.
Is the little prince uncomfortable? Does he want his pillow fluffed? Special treatment for the special day, for the special boy. Isn't that what you wanted? Her Majesty has got big plans for you. She gonna want every single drop of blood that you have on the stone tablet. She just feels special now.
Edmund looks Ginarrbrik in the eye.
Let's see how special you feel when Aslan deals with your queen.
Ooh.
Ginarrbrik pulls his dagger and lunges at Edmund when Vardan, ragged, bursts into the clearing. The witch jumps to her feet.
Your Majesty.
Where have you been?
The stone table, Your Highness. The humans are with Aslan.
Have you seen Aslan?
Not an hour ago. The human killed Maugrim. I barely escaped with my life.
And you led them right to us.
Oreius leaps out of the trees with a flash of silver fur and black hoof. Oreius knocks the dagger from Ginarbrik's hand. Ginarrbrik flees into the forest. Edmund stares, terrified. Aslan's soldiers set upon the witch's minions. A red centaur chases Ginarrbrik through the woods. Suddenly Ginarrbrik sees the witch, wand raised high. He dives for her. The red centaur whinnies on two legs. He slams back down, but Ginarrbrik and the witch are gone. Oreius slices his sword through Edmund's ropes. Edmund looks up at Oreius.
My name is...
I know who you are. Now get up. You'll kneel in front of Aslan, sir, but not before.
External, Aslan's camp, day. Peter comes out of a tent and sees Oreius standing outside. Oreius gestures toward the hilltop. Peter looks and sees Aslan and Edmund talking. Susan and Lucy come out of the tent and notice Edmund also.
Edmund!
Lucy goes to run to him, but Peter holds her back. Edmund looks down at his siblings. Aslan nods and Edmund makes his way down the hill to meet them. Aslan follows.
What's done is done. There is no need to speak to Edmund about the past.
Aslan leaves.
Hello.
Lucy hugs Edmund. Susan hugs him too.
Are you all right?
I'm a little tired.
Get some sleep. And Edmund, try not to wander off.
External, Aslan's camp, morning. The Pevensies sit outside their tent eating breakfast. Edmund eats hungrily.
Narnia's not going to run out of toast, Ed.
I'm sure they'll pack something up for the journey back.
We're going home.
You are. I promised Mum I'd keep you three safe, but it doesn't mean I can't stay behind and help.
But they need us, all four of us.
Lucy, it's too dangerous. You almost drowned. Edmund was almost killed.
Which is why we have to stay. I've seen what the White Witch can do, and I've helped her do it. And we can't leave these people behind to suffer for it.
I suppose that's it then.
Where are you going?
To get in some practice.
Susan picks up her bow and quiver. Wow. Exterior shooting range, day. Susan pulls her bow tight and lets fly, sticking her arrow in the edge of the target. Lucy throws her dagger. It hits in the centre of the target. Across the field, Peter and Edmund are on horseback, practicing sword fighting.
Come on, Ed. Sword point up, like Oreius showed us.
On guard!
Now block.
Hey!
Peter! Edmund!
Mr. Beaver runs over to them. Edmund's brown horse whinnies and rears up on its back legs.
Whoa there, horsey.
My name is Phillip.
Oh, sorry.
The witch has demanded a meeting with Aslan. She's on her way here.
External, Aslan's camp, day. A dark procession marches forward. 4 Cyclops carry a bier. Atop rides the witch, gleaming in white fur. Behind her, a phalanx of minotaurs marches in lockstep. Peter and Lucy scowl. Lucy puts her hand on Edmund. He doesn't shake it off. Aslan's army rumbles with an uneasy snarl. Ginarrbrik runs ahead of the procession. He cups his hands.
Jadis, Queen of Narnia, Empress of the Lorne Islands.
Aslan's army roars in protest, drowning him out. The Cyclops lower the witch down, right in front of Aslan, who waits with the Pevensies under his flag. The lion raises his paw for silence. The growling dies.
You have a traitor in your midst, Aslan.
His offence was not against you.
Have you forgotten the laws upon which Narnia was built?
Ah! Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written.
Then you'll remember well that every traitor belongs to me. His blood is my property.
Several of Aslan's army draw their swords, as well as Peter.
Try and take him then.
Do you really think that mere force will deny me my right, little king? Aslan knows that unless I have blood, as the law demands, all of Narnia will be overturned and perish in fire and water. That boy will die on the stone table as is tradition. You dare not refuse me.
Enough. I shall talk with you alone.
Aslan and the witch walk into his tent. Exterior, Aslan's camp, dusk. Edmund sits forlornly on the ground, pulling out blades of grass. Lucy leans on his back, glum. Susan looks at them, then to Peter, who stares at the tent. A bee buzzes, a bird chirps, and then all eyes turn as Aslan and the witch exit the tent. The white witch climbs back into her bier. Aslan stares at Edmund for a long time. then raises his hand to the entire assembly.
She has renounced her claim on the son of Adam's blood.
Everyone cheers.
Yay!
How do I know your promise will be kept?
Whoa.
Aslan roars. The witch sits down, afraid. She signals to her troops and marches away, trying to maintain her dignity. The crowd jeers as she leaves, then rejoices once she's gone. Peter. Yay! Peter, Susan and Lucy hug Edmund, relieved. Only Lucy watches Aslan as he pads sadly into his tent. Interior, Aslan's camp. Girls' tent. Night. Lucy is trying to get to sleep, but he's restless. Aslan's shadow moves past the tent.
Susan.
Susan opens her eyes, sees Lucy gathering her cloak and follows her out of the tent. Exterior, forest, night. Aslan lumbers heavily, his head down, his tail dragging. Susan and Lucy sneak from tree to tree, following.
Shouldn't you both be in bed?
We couldn't sleep.
Aslan, couldn't we come with you?
I would be glad of the company for a while. Thank you.
Aslan smiles sadly, then walks on. Exterior, Stone Table Hill, night. Aslan leads the girls up the steep slope. They rest their hands on his fur. Near the top, he turns.
It is time. From here, I must go on alone.
But Aslan!
You have to trust me, for this must be done. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Lucy. And farewell.
With one last look at them, Aslan disappears over the ridge. Beyond the rise, firelight flickers. Susan looks towards the camp, but Lucy gives her a tug. They crawl towards the scrub brush at the very top. They peer down through the leaves and gasp. Exterior, the stone table, night. Aslan walks alone toward the stone table, his head lowered, avoiding the sight of dozens of vile creatures. Minotaurs, incubi, hags and cruels, ogres, sprites and horrors. The air hangs still. Torches burn straight to the sky. Finally, Aslan looks up. There at the foot of the stone table stands the White Witch. Susie and Lucy gasp. Aslan stares at the witch. The witch stares back, hesitant. Finally, she grins.
Behold, the great lion.
The whole crowd explodes with sick laughter. Aslan just stares at the witch. Creatures rush the lion, knocking him over, rolling him onto his back.
Here, kitty, kitty. Do you want some milk?
Lucy tries to go to him. Susan holds her down.
Why doesn't he fight back?
Bind him.
Harpies bind Aslan's feet. The witch raises a pale hand.
Wait. Let him first be shaved.
The crowd roars. Ginarrbrik hacks off chunks of Aslan's mane with his dagger. Aslan just stares up sadly at the night sky. They muzzle him. Sorry. Carry on.
Bring him to me.
They muzzle him, cinching black leather over his mouth. Ogres lift Aslan onto the table. Hags bind him to the rock. A hush falls over the scene. The witch climbs atop the table. She leans close to Aslan's ear.
You know, Aslan, I'm a little disappointed in you. Did you honestly think by all this you could save the human traitor? You are giving me your life and saving no one. Ha! So much for love. Tonight, the deep magic will be appeased.
The creatures cheer and bang their sticks on the ground.
Tomorrow, we will take Narnia forever. In that knowledge, despair and die.
Aslan's gaze moves from the sky to Lucy, hiding in the shadows. Their eyes lock. The witch slowly cocks back the cruel knife, then savagely slashes downward. Aslan's eyes close. Susan and Lucy turn away.
The great cat is dead. General, prepare your troops for battle, however short it may be.
The horrors dance in a frenzy silhouetted in the fire. Susie and Lucy cower as the witch leads her minions right past their hiding place. Finally, the last tentacle drags past, leaving the hill in silence and moonlight. The girls slowly approach the lifeless lion. Lucy takes out her vial and starts to open it, but...
It's too late. He's gone.
The girls sit on the table beside the lion.
He must have known what he was doing.
They both cry quietly into Aslan's fur. A line of mice climbs onto the table, swarming over Aslan's body.
Get away! Get away, all of you!
No, look!
The mice begin to chew the ropes, freeing Aslan. The girls brush the cut ropes aside and slide off Aslan's muzzle.
We have to tell the others.
We can't just leave him.
Lucy, there's no time. They need to know.
The trees.
Interior, Aslan's camp, boys' tent, night. Flower petals flutter through the breeze from the forest, right into the boys' tent where Peter and Edmund are sleeping. A petal brushes Peter's cheek, waking him. Peter leaps up and draws his sword at a Dryad. Edmund and Peter exchange confused looks.
Be still, my princess. I bring grave news from your sister.
Exterior, Aslan's camp, night. Peter walks out of the tent where Edmund and Oreius stand at a table covered in battle plans.
It's true. He's gone.
Then you'll have to lead us, Peter. There's an army out there and it's ready to follow you.
I can't.
Aslan believed that you could. So do I.
The witch's army is nearing, sire. What are your orders?
Exterior, battlefield, day. A Gryphon swoops down towards where Peter sits astride his unicorn at the head of Aslan's army.
They come, your highness, in numbers and weapons far greater than our own.
Numbers do not win in battle.
No, but I bet they help.
The witch's army approaches, a seething mass of evil creatures. Squadrons of cyclops, battalions of black dwarfs. General Otmin leads a phalanx of minotaurs. Finally, twin polar bears pull a gleaming chariot. At the reins stands Ginarrbrik, and towering above him, magnificent in her battle mail and flowing robes, the witch. Peter turns to Edmund and he nods encouragingly. Peter raises his sword. A trumpet sounds across the battlefield.
I have no interest in prisoners. Kill them all!
Otmin roars with a thunder of hooves and steel. The witch's army charges. Peter waits, sword held high. The dark army approaches in a cloud of dust. Finally, Peter swallows and brings down his sword. Eagles, falcons, griffons, and hawks take flight, large stones gripped in their talons.
Look to the sky.
Rocks fall from the sky, cracking the skulls of the evil army, breaking their formation, but still they advance.
Are you with me?
To the death.
For Narnia and for Aslan!
Peter gallops at full speed, leading a wedge of centaurs against the now disorganized black army. Crash! Talons, claws, swords and lances collide. Creatures on both sides fall. Exterior stone table, dawn. The sun waits below the horizon. Susan and Lucy wake up from sleeping against the dead lion.
We should go.
I'm so cold.
Susan leads Lucy down from the table and away until... Crack! The will trembles for a few seconds, then subsides, leaving the hill in silence. They turn back and gasp. Before them lies the stone table, broken in two, a great crack running end to end. Aslan is gone.
Where's Aslan?
What have they done?
They look up and see Aslan, larger, shining in the sunrise, brighter than gold.
Aslan!
The girls fling their arms around him, burying their faces in his fur. Aslan purrs low. Jenny.
Sorry, but we saw the knife, the witch.
If the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice, she might have interpreted the deep magic differently. That when a willing victim who has committed no treachery is killed in a traitor's stead, the stone table will crack and even death itself will turn backwards.
We sent the news that you were dead. Peter and Edmund will have gone to war.
We have to help them.
We will, dear one, but not alone. Climb on my back. We have far to go and little time to get there. And you may want to cover your ears.
Tentatively, the girls climb on, gripping the lion's mane. Aslan roars and leaps, bounding away across the countryside. Exterior, battlefield, day. The battle rages. Peter's army has the upper hand. From his vantage point, Edmund sees the White Witch sent in her inventory. He signals. A flaming arrow shoots high. A phoenix strafes the battlefield, disintegrating as it lays down a wall of fire, cutting off the witch's troops. But then the witch drives her chariot right through, extinguishing the fire. Her army pours in.
Fall back. Draw them to the rocks.
Exterior, Narnia, day. Aslan gallops impossibly fast across the Narnian landscape. The girls cling to his back.
Where are we going?
Hang on.
They see the witch's castle in the distance. External battlefield, day. Aslan's army retreats into the rocks. Peter's unicorn is struck by an arrow and he falls. Now, on foot, Peter turns and sees the witch in a chariot coming straight for him. Oreius charges through the melee, taking out many evil creatures that cross his path, including Otmin. Oreius leaps over the witch's polar bears, swinging at her. She ducks, and with a thrust of her wand, turns him to stone. Interior, witch's castle, courtyard. A stone centaur stands in the courtyard. Aslan lands lightly beside it. The girls roll off and look up to see. A 12-foot stone giant towering over them. Ominous stone animals fill the courtyard. Lucy's eyes go wide. She frantically searches the courtyard. Suddenly she skids to a stop, gaping in shock at the statue of Mr. Tumnus. Aslan approaches. He leans forward and breathes softly on his face. A warm glow spreads over the fawn, moving across his frozen body like a flame catching. He wiggles his fingers, gasps and stumbles. Lucy catches him.
Susan, this is...
Mr. Thomas.
Susan hugs Mr. Tumnus.
Come, we must hurry and search the castle. Peter will need everyone we can find.
Aslan repeats the same process with several other frozen creatures, including a stone tiger. The tiger has a charcoal moustache and glasses still scrawled on his face. Two dogs nearby giggle. A giant's enormous fist bashes through the ice wall. Aslan leaps through the hole. The girls astride his back. Hundreds of creatures pour after him. Exterior, battlefield, day. The battle is in full swing. The witch swings both her wand and sword with expert skill and agility. 2 Gryphons swoop down towards her, ready to strike. She slices one with her sword, the other with her wand. It immediately turns to stone and falls against the rock, shattering into pieces. Peter is in the thick of it. He sees Edmund fighting beside him.
Edmund, there's too many of them. Get out of here. Get the girls and get them home.
You heard him. Let's go.
Edmund starts to follow Mr. Beaver, but then sees the witch making her way steadily closer to Peter, now on foot.
Peter said get out of here.
Peter's not the king yet.
Oblivious, Peter fights on. Edmund runs, fighting valiantly, vaulting over statues. The witch closes in on Peter, his back turned. She raises her wand, the tip sparkles. Edmund leaps, bringing his sword down, smashing her wand in two. Peter spins around. The witch stares from the broken wand in her hand to Edmund. Her eyes go wide. Edmund tries to roll clear, but with a terrifying scream, she stabs him with the jagged end of her wand.
That was terrifying.
Lucy.
Edmund!
Edmund falls to the ground. Enraged, Peter charges the witch. She smiles and draws her stone knife. Peter and the witch battle through the huge, high rocks. Peter lunges but loses his footing on the gravel. The witch swings. Peter barely deflects the blow. A backlit silhouette appears overlooking the battle. Aslan roars. Hundreds of other shadows join him along the cliff top.
Impossible.
The white witch grabs Peter's elbow and twists. His sword clatters across the rocks. The witch kicks Peter in the head. He sprawls to the ground. Helpless, Peter looks up. The witch's eyes gleam. Then suddenly a low growl. The witch's eyes pop wide to see Aslan cutting through the throng of the battle, eyes fixed right on her. He pounces over Peter, driving the white witch to the ground. Peter stares, awed and terrified. A savage roar shakes the land. A mouthful of teeth flashing the sun. Gradually, the noise of the battle fades, and though reinforcements battle all around them, Peter and Aslan stand alone.
It is finished.
Susan and Lucy run down the hill towards them.
Peter!
Lucy hugs him.
Where's Edmund?
Exterior, battlefield, day. Edmund lies, his fingers grasping at the wound in his side. Ginarrbrik, lying in the mud, blood seeping from his forehead. He stares at Edmund, eyes red with hate. The dwarf's gnarled hand reaches out and grips an axe. He drags himself to his feet. His shadow falls over the helpless Edmund. The boy's eyes flutter, then freeze with fear. Above him, Ginarrbrik bares his black teeth and raises the axe. Across the field, the other Pevensies search frantically. Suddenly, Susan sees Edmund.
Edmund!
Susan whips an arrow from her quiver and lets fly. Ginarrbrik starts to swing his axe, then stops. He looks down. The point of an arrow protrudes from his shoulder. He topples over, incapacitated. Peter, Susan and Lucy race over. Susan cradles Edmund's head. Lucy fumbles and produces the tiny crystal vial. She drops to her knees and unstops the bottle. One glistening drop splashes onto Edmund's lips. Edmund's ragged breath becomes regular. After a moment, his eyes open. He smiles, weak but alive. Peter hugs him, crying.
What are you going to learn to do as you're told?
Lucy and Susan hug Edmund as well. Aslan approaches them. He breathes on a stone warrior, restoring him to life. Lucy takes her vial and hurries over to a fallen centaur. Exterior, Kirke Paravel, day. Merman and mermaid splash in the surf beneath the balcony of the great hall. They look up as trumpets blare. Interior, Care Paravel, day. A red dwarf blows a strangely carved trumpet. Sunlight pours through stained glass windows down onto 4 thrones. Aslan leads the Pevensies down the aisle before the crowd of Narnian creatures. The Pevensies sit grandly upon their thrones.
To the glistening eastern sea, I give you Queen Lucy to Valiant.
Mr. and Mrs. Beaver carry velvet cushions bearing 2 crowns each. Mr. Tumnus steps forward, takes a silver tiara and places it on Lucy's head.
To the great western wood, King Edmund the Just.
Mr. Tumnus places a silver crown upon Edmund's head.
To the radiant southern sun, Queen Susan the Gentle.
Mr. Tumnus crowns Susan with a golden tiara.
And to the clear northern sky, I give you King Peter the Magnificent.
Mr. Tumnus places the 4th and final crown on Peter's head.
Once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen. May your wisdom grace us until the stars rain down from the heavens.
Long live King Peter.
King Peter.
Long live
King Edmund.
Long live
Queen
Susan.
Long
live
Queen
Lucy.
The crowd cheer. Care Paravel balcony, dusk. Lucy rushes out to the balcony to see down below Aslan walking along the shore away from Care Paravel. Mr. Tumnus joins her.
Don't worry, we'll see him again.
When?
In time. One day he'll be here and the next he won't. And you mustn't press him. After all, he's not a tame lion.
No, but he is good.
Lucy's eyes well up with tears. Mr. Tumnus offers her his handkerchief.
Here, you need it more than I do.
Finally, Aslan disappears into the darkness, leaving only his deep paw prints in the wet sand. The footprints fade as the light gradually fades. External Narnia forest day. 4 young adults gallop through the forest chasing a white stag. The kings and queens laugh happily to each other. Edmund's horse slows to a stop.
Are you all right, Phillip?
I am not as young as I once was.
The other 3 canter back to where Edmund and Phillip have stopped in a clearing.
Come on, Ed.
Just catching my breath.
That's all we need to catch at this rate.
What did he say, Susan?
You girls stay back at the castle. I'll get the stag myself.
Lucy and Susan laugh at Edmund. Peter gets down from his horse, looking around at the clearing. The others follow him.
What is this? It seems familiar.
The Pevensies look up at the lamppost.
As if from a dream.
Or a dream of a dream. Sparrow.
Lucy runs off into the woods, remembering.
Lucy.
Not again.
The others follow Lucy as she runs through the trees.
Lou.
Come on.
The wood grows darker and quieter until...
These aren't branches. They're coats.
Ow, Susan, you're on my foot.
Peter, move off.
Stop shoving.
Stop it.
Interior wardrobe room day. The wardrobe door bangs open and out tumble the 4 Pevensies, young again and in their old English clothes. Simultaneously, the hallway door knob turns. The professor enters the room, holding a cricket ball.
There you are. What are you all doing in the wardrobe?
You wouldn't believe us if we told you, sir.
The professor tosses the cricket ball and Peter catches it.
Try me.
Interior, wardrobe room, night. The wardrobe stands silent against the wall. Lucy bites her lip and opens the door to find coats. She pushes them aside. Nothing but coats.
I don't think you'll get back in that way.
Lucy turns. The professor sits quietly on the windowsill in his dressing gown and pyjamas, puffing on his pipe.
You see, I have already tried.
Will we ever go back?
Oh, I expect so, but it'll probably happen when you're not looking for it. All the same, best to keep your eyes open.
Lucy smiles. She closes the wardrobe and holds out her hand. He takes it. They pad softly back to bed. Leaving the room dark and quiet, all is still. Then, with a creak, the wardrobe door opens and a shaft of golden light spills into the room. Fade out. Roll credits.
There we go.
Hey.